So there's this major US tech company, Applovin, and right now they are seriously under fire. They're facing a storm of pretty heavy accusations from a brand new investigative report, and we are about to break down every explosive claim made by CapitalWatch. And get this, the headline of the report itself is "Lies Cannot Mask the Stench of Black Money." I mean, wow. That sets a powerful, intense tone right from the get-go. It's clear CapitalWatch isn't pulling any punches here.
So, what is in this bombshell report? We're going to unpack what this forensic investigation is claiming, and it's a lot. It accuses Applovin of being a key part of a massive international money laundering scheme and of deliberately misleading its own investors.
Okay, so this whole thing really boils down to two explosive allegations. First, that there's a huge money laundering channel running through the company, and second, that there's been an elaborate corporate cover-up, apparently led by the CEO. Let's start by following the money. To follow the money, the investigation really puts one key figure under the microscope, a man named Hao Tang. Now, he was Applovin's second largest shareholder when the company went public, and the report alleges he is absolutely central to this entire operation. I mean, just look at the size of this stake. The report shows that Hao Tang and the companies he controlled held over 28% of Applovin at its IPO. Now, according to CapitalWatch, a stake that large is no small thing. It legally requires some really strict know your customer and anti-money laundering background checks. And it doesn't stop there. The report then connects the dots to a family member, Ling Tang, who was a pre-IPO investor. It alleges these funds are tied to illegal activities and then drops this absolute bombshell that Hao Tang is a wanted fugitive in China, linked to a financial fraud case worth billions. But you might be thinking, why would criminals use a system that actually costs them money? It doesn't seem to make sense, right? Well, the report explains this crucial concept. For these operations, the goal isn't profit. It's something called capital legitimization. The whole point is to turn that illegal black money into clean, legitimate cash. And to do that, criminal groups are apparently willing to pay very high washing fees, things like, say, ad commissions. Okay, so CapitalWatch lays out this alleged three-step process. Let me walk you through it. Step 1, the illegal money gets moved offshore, broken up, and funneled into shell companies using crypto. Step 2, those shell companies turn around and buy enormous amounts of advertising on Applovin's platform. And finally, Step 3, all that ad spending artificially inflates Applovin's revenue, which in turn boosts its stock price, letting the initial investors cash out with clean money. All right, so that's the money laundering angle. Now let's pivot to the second bombshell allegation. This one is all about a very direct, very public statement from Applovin's CEO, a statement the report claims could be securities fraud. This all started during a public earnings call with investors. The CEO, Foroughi, made a really clear, really direct statement. He said, quote, "Applovin does not operate inside China." That flat-out denial became the absolute focal point for this part of the investigation. So, you have the CEO's very firm denial on the record. And then, CapitalWatch starts laying out a trail of documentary evidence that they claim completely contradicts what he said. And boom, here's the alleged contradiction. What you're seeing are official Chinese corporate registration documents. They're for a legally active company called Applovin Beijing Technology Development, which even has a branch in Hangzhou. And the report makes sure to point out who's listed as the legal representative for that Beijing company: CEO Foroughi himself. So let's just put this side by side because the contrast is pretty stark. On one hand, you have the CEO telling investors no China operations. But on the other hand, the report presents evidence of registered legal companies, active hiring for jobs there, and even suggests the company's core AI research team is based in China. And to really hammer this point home, the report digs up actual job postings. Now, it claims these aren't just for, minor roles. These are for highly skilled positions working on Axon, which is Applovin's core AI and recommendation engine. It's literally the heart of their entire technology. And this is what the report calls the smoking gun, a quote pulled right from one of those job postings that says, "We're looking for a high-impact product manager to join Axon in Beijing." It directly links this alleged ghost company to Applovin's most critical business operations. Okay, so we've got the money laundering allegations, we've got the CEO's denial. So what? Why is this such a big deal? Well, the report goes on to outline some very, very serious potential legal consequences. Well, according to CapitalWatch, the evidence they've presented could bring the hammer down from the SEC. And we're not just talking about a slap on the wrist. The report brings up the possibility of securities fraud charges, the CEO being barred from ever running a public company again, forcing executives to return their profits, and violations for supposedly hiding the costs of this entire China operation. But just when you think it's over, here's the real kicker. The report doesn't actually end with a neat conclusion. It ends on a cliffhanger, promising that what we've seen so far is just the beginning of a much bigger storm. They basically promise that this is just part one. They say they're going to release a whole series of follow-up reports with what they call smoking gun evidence on even more damaging topics, like China-based teams having access to U.S. user data, the company artificially inflating its revenue numbers before its IPO, and even that its prized AI technology isn't what it claims to be. So the report frames this as the calm before the storm. It leaves everyone, Applovin, its investors, regulators, you, me, with this huge hanging question. These allegations are positioned as just the opening act, and we're all left to wonder what happens when or if the next wave of evidence actually drops.